interestingly, I end up oftentimes getting roles that reflect what I'm going through in real life at that time.
Wonderful. It is an absolute joy. I don't know if you remember, we spoke last year
Yeah,
with the release of X-Men 97. Uh,
right.
but it is an absolute joy to be speaking with Lenore Zann, the author of A Rogue's Tale.
Thank you.
Lenore, thank you so much. Congratulations on the book.
Thank you so much. It feels like an accomplishment just to have written it, to actually sit down, put pen to paper and get her done.
Well, it really is an accomplishment, to be quite frankly. Why did you want to tell your story now?
Because finally I had the time to sit down and tell it. Before this, I was just too busy living it to be able to take the time to sit down and write about it. I mean, back when I was younger, I did used to keep diaries. So I would keep journals and I would journal and chronicle what was going on in my life at the time. And when I first decided I was going to write up my memoir, I thought, oh, well, what I'll do is I'll just go through my old diaries and I'll just transcribe, stuff that I wrote then. But I sat down and I just wanted to start with, the beginning in the early years when I was a kid in Australia. And the memories were so strong and the images were so strong. And I just started loving the writing, the process. Like my dad was a writer and he got me interested in writing poetry and short stories at an early age when I was about 8. And so the process of writing, I enjoyed it so much that I realized I didn't really need the diaries. I could remember so much, and it's poignant and powerful memories. So I just kept writing. And because I had, by the time I started deciding that I was going to write it, I had X-Men and I was doing X-Men 97. I was started to be invited to all these different Comic Cons to meet the fans. And so I'd find myself on plane rides for long periods of time. And I found that that was a really good place for me to write,
Mm.
because you can get in the zone and there's nothing distracting you other than, would you like a cup of coffee or whatever, and then they disappear for another 2 hours. So, so I did a lot of writing on planes. And I went home to Australia a year ago when my dad died. I wanted to go home and see the family and all of us be able to, take a toast and remember him and his siblings who had also passed away. So I got to spend time with my cousins. But on the way to Australia, it's a 16-hour flight from LA to Sydney. So I wrote 4 chapters on the way there and 4 chapters on the way back, and they were the last chapters, like they were the almost the last chapter. The last chapters I wrote were in Los Angeles when the show was about to air, and also in San Francisco, leading up to going to LA for the big premiere. But the rest, those last 8 chapters, I wrote in the air to and from Australia. So if anyone wants to write, I highly suggest you buy an airline ticket and go for a very long plane ride.
That's usually not in the brochure for Air Canada. If
I
you
know.
write your book, try to
Maybe
take a
I
trip
should
around
be
the world.
yeah, maybe I should be their spokesperson or something.
What parts
Yeah.
of your story were most important for you to include? I mean, it's got to be hard when you're writing your story to pick and choose because
Yeah.
life is long.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And I didn't want to write a 1,000-page book or nobody would want to read it. Um, Even like, for instance, the fact that I went into politics for 12 years. Now, you could write an entire book about that. There's so much happened in that time. And I learned so much about life and people and Canadians and um, what it's like to be a female politician. And but I decided to make this book more about my acting career and the adventures that I had. And I thought, well, if the book does well and if people like it and they like my writing style, then I'll write a second book. And that'll be more about the politics. And maybe we'll call it something like Rogue Goes to Parliament or something like that, you know? um, so, yeah, so picking and choosing which stories to include, it is hard, but there are many, many stories I did not include. And there are some stories that I did include that my sister, for instance, wishes I hadn't. But she's like, why did you have to mention about two Greek guys in Moscow? It's like, because it happened. It's part of who I am. It's like, well, I wouldn't have done that. It's like, well, it's not your story. you know Oh my God. If they don't know I'm a little bit wild and crazy by now, then oh well. What can you do?
Well, you know what?
Oh,
I gotta ask
mhm.
Lenore, do you consider yourself to be a rogue?
Of course. How could I play rogue and not be a rogue?
What does that mean to you?
Oh my goodness. Well, a rogue is somebody who is a little bit rambunctious, who has a lot of chutzpah, who isn't afraid to kind of grab the bull by the horn and just ride it for all it's worth. And maybe is a little bit of a mischief maker, you know, has a good sense of humor and is not afraid to laugh at themselves. Um, and the other thing is, it's interesting because, I started to look into my heritage, I include that in this book, and discovered that in my long line of ancestors in Australia, where I grew up, on both sides of the family, we have convicts, which I did not know until I started looking into it. Because, of course, Australia was a penal colony for England, and they sent out the first fleets where all these prisoners, they were convicts in chains, and there were Irish and the British convicts, and I have both on both sides. In fact, two of my great 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 grandfathers on each side of the family were highway robbers at the age of 19, and they both got sent to Australia. And here I am. So you see, I come from a long long line of rogues,
I love
right?
that. I
A
love that.
long line of rogues. I'm like, oh, maybe that's why I'm the way I am, and I like to travel and take adventures and take risks.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Oh, I mean, like you said, this is you with this book with a rogue's tale. Am I saying that right?
Yes,
Rogue's
that's
tale.
right.
You're focusing more on your acting career. I was
Mhm.
wondering what drives you as an actor or even as a person?
Oh, passion, emotion, wanting to experience life in all of its glory and all of its despair. Um, I've never been afraid to throw myself into both life, no matter what comes, no matter what may come, and also into my roles. And I've always loved kind of challenging roles, roles that aren't just cut and dried and simple, but that have deep, deep layers. Those I can get my teeth into and I can really, dig around and then express them in a way that I hope people can relate to. Um, and I just love and reenacting things and acting things with other actors. And I love to be able to move people so that they can feel their own emotions and hopefully realize that they're alive, that they're not just going to walk through life like sleepwalking, that they're going to actually feel things and not be afraid to feel their emotions. And with Rogue, I'm able to do that as well, especially in like X-Men 97, where she goes on a major hero's journey where she loses the love of her life and has this great grief. And leading up to doing the episode where that happens in X-Men 97, I had just lost my sweet young 17-year-old niece Maya to cancer. And it was really, really sad. My whole family were grieving. And when I got the script, I went, oh, I guess I don't have to do my emotional homework for this one. I've already done it. I was ready. And so I decided to pour all of my authentic grief into my performance so that people could hear the authenticity in my voice and it might resonate with them if they had lost someone too. And especially coming out of the pandemic, many people lost people that they loved. Many people know somebody or they love somebody, they lost someone that they love. Plus, just seeing all the wars on television, seeing the mass shootings that are going on, seeing the hatred, the violence, the all of the stuff that's going on. A lot of people, I think, are feeling underneath their anger is fear, underneath the fear is real grief. It's sadness. So I wanted to tap into that and jiggle it around and make people feel their feelings underneath all those other layers so that they could release it in tears and hopefully have like a cathartic experience and heal from that. And I'm from what I'm told, a lot of people felt that. They all cried. People said, "You broke me." I've had big, huge, strapping men tell me, "Lenore, I never thought I would ever cry at a cartoon, and you broke me open." And I'm like, "Well, you're welcome." It's good. It's good to feel your feelings. It's okay. It proves that you're human.
It really was one of the great cliffhangers in that we've seen, not from just from X-Men, but in
Hmm.
animation. It was just such an
Thank you.
incredible moment. It really was. And
I appreciate that.
yeah, and actually listening to you here, this is one of the things that I sort of wondered because this is a book about your life.
Hmm.
And I wondered about how that influences your performances in things like this because, like you said, with X-Men, I didn't, of course, I didn't know your story and what was going on with you, but
Hmm.
you're given this
Hmm.
script and
Hmm.
in general, and how do you reconcile the two things? Like, how do you find that your life and your art mirror each other or affect one another?
Hmm. Yeah, sometimes I say, what comes first? Does art reflect life or does life reflect art? Sometimes it's hard to tell the difference between the two because interestingly, I end up oftentimes getting roles that reflect what I'm going through in real life at that time. And that's happened to me many, many times in my life. And so as an actor, part of the reason I was drawn to acting is because I have a big imagination. And I have a huge well of emotions inside, many different multicolored and multi layered emotions, which I believe everybody does. But most people tend to stuff them down and just try to sort of just deal with life as they meet it, but they don't want all those emotions, so they kind of tend to sort of ignore them or sweep them under the rug or just um, they don't let themselves really get into those emotions. Whereas to be an actor, you have to. That's part of the job, is to get in tune with your own emotions so that you can then replicate it for an audience, no matter what it is that you're doing. And so, for me, that's part of the beauty of acting is to be able to dig deep inside and go, oh, yeah, okay, this is where I can pull this out and I can use this. I mean, it's not method acting, although in a way it's similar to method acting because I'm drawing on my own experiences and my own emotions, but I don't have to like stay like that when I don't stay in character when I'm not performing. Let's put it that way. I'm not one of those people that goes around and they're still the character. I just turn it on for the time that I'm performing and then I put it away again and close the door and then I come back out and I'm Lenore again.
I feel like I have to ask this. I know that Marvel has snipers everywhere. Uh,
Yeah.
but is there anything you can tell us about the next season of X-Men 97? My understanding is they're already working on season 3 as well.
I can tell you that I have recorded season 2. I love the scripts. I love Rogue's continuing arc. She is on a hero's journey. And
Mm.
if you know what a hero's journey is, it's somebody who just, they have a mindset on achieving something that they really, truly desire and want. And they're not going to let anything or anybody stop them. So she is still on this hero's journey. And I've already started recording season 3. So I can tell you it's going to be fantastic. People are going to be on the edges of their seats yet again. And whenever I get the scripts, I can't stop reading them until I'm done, which is a really good sign. So I think people are going to be very pleased with it.
I'm looking forward to it. Genuinely looking forward.
Yeah.
Loved the last season, and honestly,
Thank you.
Lenore,
Hmm.
I congratulations on the book. I know
Well, I
it's
appreciate
so
that.
special
Thank
that you
you.
get to tell your story. Have honestly, thank you so much for your time. Have a great day.
You too, sweetheart. And check out Revival too,
Yes, yes, of
right?
course.
Check out
Yes.
Revival. It's on CTV and Crave, and it's on Peacock and Sci-Fi in the States. And it already hit number one approval rating for most watched show on Peacock, and it got 92% approval on Rotten Tomatoes. So
I
shot in
actually,
Canada too. Shot in
yeah.
Canada with most of us are Canadian.
I
Many
actually
who live in the States.
I actually
Yeah.
just am hearing about the show, and I'm really excited about it. Not just because you're in it. I'm also a big Phil Brooks fan, CM Punk. And
Oh, wow. Cool.
gotta check that. I'm gonna check that out for sure. So thank you so much.
Check it out. Yes, thank you. It's a
Uh,
pleasure seeing you again.
it's a pleasure seeing you again too. I hope we get to talk again soon. Thank you
Yeah,
so
thank you
much.
very much. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Bye. Bye,
Bye.
sugar.
Bye.
Bye.